DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself.
Go.
Hello everyone. Today we're going to be going over a video on how to replace one of our power steering hoses on our 2011 GMC Sierra 2500. Problem right now that we're having with our hose is during this winter it sprung a leak on there, so I can't visibly see a crack, but there was a small leak initially, and it's just gotten worse over the week. It took me a while to get the part here, so it's just continued to get worse while I've been doing it. I initially went to AutoZone to try and get this hose that I have here. It's the pump to power boost, and there was considered a special order hose, and they were going to charge me over $100 for it. So what I ended up doing is going on to Amazon. I'll throw the link down below for the hose that I got, and I only paid about $60 for the hose on Amazon, so I definitely saved money there. I've already checked this hose against the one that's in there, and it is a proper match, as well as on Amazon some of the parts when you do it for your vehicle it says if it'll fit or not, and it confirmed it fit there too. So I did save a little bit money getting this on Amazon rather than going through an actual auto parts store at the time. So all we're doing is going to be replacing this hose. So here's the new hose and what it looks like. There's a couple different types of the hoses on there. So this one is, again, the pump to power boost, and it has these metal fittings on the end, and it has the threads to actually line it in and everything. So this is just one type. There are multiple types in there. So this is what it looks like, and it does have on either end, this has its own little set that has the threads that it can actually screw in, same as the other one with the fitting, and then it goes into the rubber hose here. Something that you can do as an alternative that may be a little bit cheaper on some of the other hoses. So the other hose doesn't actually have this metal fitting on the end, it's just the rubber hose all the way, and then you use the rubber clamps or the hose clamps to clamp it down. An alternative to doing that is you might be able to go to a fabrication place. There's a rubber hose manufacturer here where I live, and they can make them cheaper and to meet the specifications of the pressurized system that will contain it a little bit cheaper than you can buy it at an auto parts store. So here's the hose. The packaging that it came in is right here. So on one side it has the power steering hose right there with the number. On the other side it actually comes with its own instructions. It's kind of nice. Instructions are very short and simple, and it also includes the tools and materials. So we'll just go over those right now. Tools and materials that it says is an open end wrench, and that's going to be for these fittings here on the end to actually tighten and loosen them. Next is a blade type screwdriver, so just a flathead. A drain pan. Now we already have one under the truck, so what I ended up doing is I actually have a drain pan under there, and it's sitting inside a cardboard box, and the cardboard box is laid out so try and get maximum coverage under the truck in case there is any spilling. I want to say that my system is pretty dry at this point. I think it's all leaked out, so hopefully I won't have much to drain at that point, but we do have the drain pan down there, and then the power steering fluid as needed. Depending on the type of hose you're replacing, again, this says that you may have to use hose clamps, but we don't use that for our particular hose that we're doing right now. The basic instructions that this has right here is: first, examine all power steering hoses for wear. If one hose must be replaced, it's almost certain that all hoses should be. I looked at my other ones and I'm not having a leak from the other ones right now, unless I just am not seeing it right off, and I don't see any damage to those. So I am not replacing the other ones at this time. It's just this one for right now. Go over to the next one, how to remove your old hose. Use an open-end wrench or a screwdriver as required to remove old hose. Hold both ends of hose up when removing to prevent fluid spillage. Number 3, how to install the new hose. Pressure hose, hoses with threaded end fittings, hand thread fittings. Finish tightening with open-end wrench of the proper size, and then go to step 4. For step 4, it goes over flushing the system, which will be beneficial. Disconnect the return line at the pump end and place it in the drain pan. Cover the tube on the pump with a flushing cap, which is included in the bag, and that is in this little baggie came with it. It's going to be the yellow cap that is in there, and we'll show you that later. And then there's also seals, rubber seals that go on the ends of these, also in that package. Fill the reservoir with recommended fluid. Start the engine. Cycle the steering wheel from side to side in there as it's running. Stop the engine, remove the flushing cap. Cycle the steering wheel from side to side, filling the reservoir while you're doing that until the fluid coming out of the end of the hose is clear. And then stop the engine at that point, remove the flushing cap, connect the return line hose, and recheck the fluid level, top it off as needed. So it's actually a really simple process, not that hard to do. Probably something that a shop would charge you probably over $100 for just doing it. So we're just going to do it here, and we'll show you how we're doing it while we're at it. If you want to look over here, the basic setup. So the hose that we're replacing is right here at the end of my finger. So it goes down to this end. So one end is down here. Due to how close it is in there, I'll try and let you see as I'm unloosening it, but we may not be able to get a good camera angle in there. If you follow it up here, it comes all the way up in here, and this is the other end with the fitting right there at the end of my pinky. So that's the hose that we're going to be doing. I'm going to go ahead and start loosening now. Hopefully we can get you a good camera angle, but if not, then we'll just go to the next portion. Okay, so we're starting to loosen this fitting. I'm using a 5/8 wrench here, and it's pretty tight, so it took a lot to initially get it loose. And then the hose keeps on turning, so what I am having to do is hold the hose in place so it's not moving, and then just slowly loosening this. It's a pretty slow process, but honestly on this truck, especially with some of the other videos I've seen on other people doing it, this is pretty good. Okay, so it is draining down there, so I do want to stop here and make sure that my pan is in place. It's actually catching all of that, but this power steering fluid is also pretty corrosive. It's pretty harsh, so I'm definitely wearing gloves on this. And you'd want to, when it leaks on this stuff, you want to get it washed off after you're done, because it can like get the paint all off and stuff, and corrode some of the stuff that it hits. So yeah, pretty easy that way. We're pretty close because it's loose enough that it's actually leaking now. So we can probably just finish hand loosening that shortly here in a bit after I check the pan, and let that finish draining, and then we'll go up top and loosen that. We're using our 3/4 inch open-end wrench here for this one. This one was much looser, so it only required a little bit of a tap. After that initial is loose enough to where I can hand loosen it really easy. So what we do need to pay attention to here, now that this is loosened, is we need to know how the hoses ran. In a lot of vehicles, it's a little bit tighter space in there, and so you need to make sure you're paying attention to how your hoses ran in there, and replicate that when you put your new one in. So I'm not going to remove this quite yet because I am still waiting for it to drain, finish draining, and and then I'll probably just feed this new one up in here right next to it and just let it sit there right next to it until this finishes draining. Okay, so it's not dripping anymore, it's not draining, so I went ahead and I ran the other hose through, and in the pack comes this green O-ring that is right here. So I put the green O-ring on. You'll have to do it on both sides, and I'll just gonna kind of hand thread it. Make sure it's not cross threading in there. It should turn real nice. I'm able to, yeah, it's a pretty easy turn there. Now, something you need to pay attention to. So this is the old hose here, and you'll see you do need to check and make sure that the old hose still has its O-rings on each end, because you don't want those left in there. So this one does still have it on both ends. I'm gonna see if we can see the hole or the leak that was on this hose. I actually don't see it, other than this line here looks like it's separated a little bit more, but I actually don't see a gaping hole in this or anything. What I think caused it for me, and kind of a bigger reason why I'm not replacing all the hoses, is it got to negative 30 or a little bit lower Fahrenheit the other day, and so I'm thinking that the fluid gets really sluggish when it starts getting into the negatives. So it's really sluggish, but I haven't actually seen it freeze. So I don't know if when it hit that negative 30 and below, if it actually did freeze and expand a little bit more and cause problems with this. But it was right after that time frame that I noticed that it was starting to leak. So that would be the only thing that I can contribute to it, or think that may have caused it. So after you've hand fed it for a while, I could probably get it a little bit more. Yeah, I just have to use my whole hand. So after you've hand fed it for a while, then you just take your wrench again and feed it. Probably better going this way. Longer turn. So you just turn that. You don't need to make it too tight. Do make sure that it is actually tight, because it's a pressure system. So make sure that you are getting it tight enough. Should probably just go to there on it. And then this is the portion where I'm going to have to put the O-ring on the other end still. So after I get the O-ring on, then I'm going to attach this yellow piece here that it's talking about, and we'll do the flush of the system until we get the clear fluid through there, and then we'll turn the truck off and go ahead and tighten that, and we'll show as much of that as we can. Okay, so I have this green O-ring that's in the package, and we're just gonna kind of slide it over that and just seat it there. Make sure it's seated real nice. And the next step is to fill the reservoir, so we're gonna go ahead and put some of the fluid in there. I'm not gonna use the whole bottle, we're just gonna start off with that. And I'm gonna check the dipstick and just make sure there is a decent amount in there. And then I will start the truck and start the flush. Put that cap back on, and at this point, so we're gonna pay attention to the other end of this hose. So I'm gonna shine a flashlight on there. We do have to turn the truck on at this point and shift the steering wheel from left to right. Something that you do need to make sure you're paying attention to is we do have the drive belts here. So make sure that nothing is getting in the way of those. Don't stick your hand down there as you're doing it. So I'm just going to I'm going to leave the hose here. I'm going to shine a flashlight down as it's running. Wait until it flushes out the clear coolant or the clear fluid, and then as soon as it becomes clear, we're going to shut the truck off and take that cap out, the yellow cap, and go ahead and seal up the system and tighten the hose down. Okay, so we're just wrapping up now. We did the flush the best we could. With this kit, it did come with the cap to put in the pump, and you do need to make sure that cap actually fits, otherwise it'll not hold back the pressure and it'll kind of blow it out. That happened the initial time that we started it. So just make sure that you get the system flushed out as best you can, and then just top it back off with the fluid. Make sure that the O-rings are on the ends of the hoses, and then tighten them down. So we've already done that. I've tightened them down on both ends, and we flushed the system. So that's really all there is to it. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, anything, if you have experience doing this, go ahead and throw that in the comments below. If you can help out, answer any questions that others might be asking as well. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more stuff. There's going to be plenty more stuff coming up about this truck and the things that we're going to be doing to it. So just let us know how you liked it. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it, and have a great day.
DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself.
DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself.